At this time, we'll call to order the Board of Public Works regular meeting. This is April 8th, 2024. Betty, roll please.
Mayor Boyd.
I'm here.
Alderperson Carpenter.
Here.
Alderperson Hanson.
Here.
Alderperson Ledvina.
Here.
Alderperson Rush.
I'm here.
All right, very good. If people are out there in virtual land, just make sure you mute your microphone. When there's a time for you to talk, I'll let you know and you can unmute. So at this time, everyone out there in virtual land, please mute your microphone. Thank you. Let's go to public comment upon matters not on the agenda. Comments made during the public comment period shall pertain only to matters under the jurisdiction of the Board of Public Works. Anyone in person or virtually have any public comments upon matters not on the agenda? If so, just raise your hand if you're in person. I assume you're all here for an item on the agenda, correct? Yeah. Virtually, now you can unmute. If you have a public comment upon matters not on the agenda, just state your name at this time. For the second time, any public comment upon matters not on the agenda, now's your time. For the third and final time, any public comment upon matters not on the agenda, just state your name. All right, let's move to the items. Item 1, approval of the March 11th, 2024 Board of Public Works meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, seconded by Alderperson Rash. Any discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 2, consideration and possible action on preliminary resolution for special assessments for storm sewer main and/or laterals. Eric, we'll go to you first, please.
Okay, so the purpose for this item is to approve the preliminary resolution for special assessments for storm sewer main and/or storm lateral construction associated with street resurfacing under Project 2401 and street rehabilitation under Project 2402. So the city is performing work on the following streets that includes new storm sewer main and/or laterals, and those streets are Beaumere Street from South Broadway to South Erie Street, South Superior Street from the southern termini down by the park up to Merrill Street, Virginia Street from South Superior Street to South Erie Street, Ridgeway Drive from Webster Avenue to Mandalay Terrace, and Smith Street from Ridgeway Drive to LeBrun Street. In the past, these areas have had drainage issues or we've had complaints related to drainage. So then as part of our resurfacing and rehabilitation of streets, we add storm sewer laterals and/or mains. So for this year, the assessments were previously calculated and brought before the board. For residential properties, the storm lateral assessment is $2,246.27. And the storm main assessment is $606.38. Also included in your packet is some of the various times and letters we've sent out to the property owners notifying them of the project and the proposed assessments. So for the storm lateral and or main assessments, the board has adopted a resolution in the past regarding the payment options. So for this option, and generally, we will invoice payment when the project is just about near the end of construction, so that generally that's early fall. So once the person gets an invoice, if they pay within 30 days, they can pay within 30 days and then there's no interest. Also, there is the option to do a yearly installment if approved by the board, and in the past, the board has approved a 5-year annual payment plan. The other option for this project is a person can wait potentially up to 25 years to pay the assessment, or if they sell the property, whichever occurs first, or they connect to the storm lateral, then the assessments come due. So in theory, a person could let this assessment sit out there for 25 years. In the case where they choose not to pay the assessment immediately, there is a 10-year period where interest does accrue. And the interest rate that accrues is 1% above what we pay, and right now that would be set the total at 4.6%. So that would be the interest rate that would accrue for up to 10 years. So staff is recommending the board adopt the preliminary resolution with a 5-year payback period, and then we schedule a public hearing for the next board meeting on May 13th, 2024.
Thank you. Again, this is not the public hearing, but we can let you guys speak. I probably will open up the meeting and see if someone wants to speak, unless you guys have any questions first. I'll make a motion to open the meeting.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Rash. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now, you just heard what he had stated, so obviously some of you still might want to speak. So if you'd like to speak, that's fine. You'll get 3 minutes, and then we'll move on to the next person. I do have a couple people on the sheet that I'll go to first. Those that are in virtual land, I'll go through in person first, and then I'll get you guys virtually at the end. So I promise you, I'll give you guys a chance to speak. So I have up here, and if you don't want to speak and this satisfied you, that's fine. Again, you also should know that you can reach out to Eric Rakers in the engineering department, which I think is in the letter, the phone number, etc., for additional information or clarification up to the public hearing, which is the next Board of Public Works meeting, which is next month. So I have Joe Schmidt up here first. Would Joe Schmidt like to speak?
That's me.
Okay, you want to speak?
I didn't really want to.
You don't have to. You can wait and listen it out first. I just did this here. So if you want to hear anyone else come up here first, and then if you still want to, you can do that as well.
Okay.
Okay.
We thought we were signing in.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. So should I just like have hands raised for people that want to speak? Should I do that instead? Okay. You don't want to be embarrassed by the names being read? No. All right. So does anyone want to speak on this item on the agenda? If so, just raise your hand. I have one. You won the contest. Come on up to that table right there. And you get to give your name and address, and then you get 3 minutes.
First name's Jason, last name's Hervis. Address is 638 South Superior Street.
And you can have a seat.
No, I like to stand.
Oh, you like to
I'm a
stand?
stander. I'm wondering if this is set in stone, if we still have the ability to vote this out or in. I'm opposed to it. We lived like this for the last 12 or 13 years, and I don't see the need for it.
Okay.
I'm not interested in paying the bill. Our taxes keep going up every year. I just don't want another bill to live in the city of De Pere.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? If so, just raise your hand. I'm looking in person right now. Sure, come on up. You know how it works now, and you may sit if you like. Give us your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes
Okay,
or less.
Joe Schmidt, 614 South Superior Street. Again, I'm just saying what he said. I've only been there 3 years, and I've talked to some of the neighbors. We don't seem to have a problem with the sewer and stuff in our neighborhood. And the bill itself is coming out of nowhere, and I don't know where I'm going to get funding for it. So, yeah, I really don't understand why we're having this project. We did get a letter earlier that said funding, that you didn't get funding for the project. So I thought it was a dead issue at that point, but I don't get funding from anywhere. So, you know, that's my story, so.
Thank you. I'm going to jump out to virtual land. Anyone virtually like to speak while we're open? Please just state your name.
Andrew Dugan,
All right, and what's your address, Andrew?
802 Beaumere Street.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So those of us with existing laterals to the storm sewer, is this assessment just for those who do not?
Eric, I'm going to let Eric Rakers, engineer, answer that question. Eric?
So if you have an existing storm lateral to your property, and it's to the sewer that is in front of your property somewhere, then you would not have to have a new storm lateral, and you would not have an assessment. So we did take a look and identify the storm laterals, the existing ones that we could. If you feel you have one and we missed it, we'd be more than happy to take a look at it after this meeting.
Yes. Okay, I do have one for sure that I know of.
Sure, you can reach out to Eric. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. My other question was, is curbing included in the resurfacing?
Eric?
So as part of the project, what we do is, I'll just kind of give you a quick overview. We're going to go out there and we'll do all the utility work first. And then as part of the utility work, we will damage sections of curb We will also identify sections of curb that are deteriorated through cracking or if it's settled, and then we will replace those sections with the project. And then right near the end, we'll mill off the existing asphalt that's there, and then we'll resurface everything. So you're gonna have a combination of old curb and new curb. If anyone has concerns with the curb in front of their property and would like to meet with us to see what we're proposing to take out and what we're proposing to keep, we would meet with you. Sometimes people will see, there's a low spot of tiny puddle out there that we may miss, and we'd be more than happy to take a look at it with you. But to answer your question, there'll be spot curb and gutter replacement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hey, hang on one second. Anyone else like to speak virtually at this time? Just state your name in virtual land. Okay, we don't really technically take questions, so if you want to go to the table, state your name and address. We'll pretend it's your 3 minutes you're speaking, but you can ask a question, okay?
I live at 639 South Superior, Shane Kiefer, and got a question about the laterals. Are they gonna go under our sidewalk? Are they replacing the sidewalk and the curb when they do this, or?
Great question. Eric?
Yeah, so we will take the storm lateral to the house side, we'll go through the sidewalk, and then it'll be about 6 inches beyond the sidewalk, and then we'll repair the sidewalk as part of the project that we damage. And then in the future, when you go to hook to it, you shouldn't have to damage your sidewalk. You should be able to get to it
So
without.
it should be on the house side of the sidewalk?
Correct.
You won't have to worry about paying to replace the sidewalk?
Correct. Yep.
All right.
That's the beauty of these projects. When it happens, we pick that tab up, yeah. Any other questions or you good? Anyone else want to speak while we're open? Virtually, anyone else like to speak while we're open? I'll make a motion to go back to regular session.
A second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Rash. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Eric, anything else to add based on what we heard? I think we pretty much addressed it as we went along here. Again, the emphasis being here, a couple things. First, we're not really laying anyone out here. This was part of the general construction project that we've done in the past and we will do in the future. But these laterals have been identified as issues and concerns, which will benefit the homeowners as we go forward. Plus, we have the payback plan, and then you identified the 25-year option where you wouldn't have to pay.
The thing I would add, and the board understands, and nobody likes these charges, and a couple $1,000s is a lot of money. But, there are, years ago when they established this policy, they put up to 25 years so that you as a property owner, and I know people sometimes don't like the fact that there's money sitting out there that they owe, but in theory, you could have up to 25 years to pay this. So, if you're not going to hook up right away, it's there in the future, and you can pay for it in the future. The important thing and why we put these in now is it would be significantly more expensive if we were to come in and add storm laterals after we resurface the road, because we're not including resurfacing costs in that. That's just paid for under our standard project. So there is the advantage to get those in now. I would say and I know people aren't happy with it, but the board was sympathetic in this payment plan years ago as best they could be. And the reason we are putting these out is there are areas that don't have sump pumps, and when sump pumps get put in, there's going to be a lot more runoff. And in some of these areas, we have poor drainage in the backyards, which is bad for foundations. So, it's very difficult to pick and choose. So when we do an area, we'll do the whole area. And ultimately, we are going to get storm laterals in through the whole community. It just takes time, and we get the worst ones first. So, I guess I would just add that to the comment.
And we do have issues with runoff that we're going to probably be facing in the future that we have to put these in. And that's at the state level. You want to briefly describe that as well, too?
Well, yeah, we do have to maintain and collect our stormwater. And so this is part of it. When people have backyard drainage issues, this is another avenue for them to resolve the problems. So this is all part of our plan to deal with stormwater and to collect water from sump pumps and things like that.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Alderperson Rash.
Yeah, so I know every year we do this, and but the question always comes up when we talk about the cost of it. If they look at the 5-year payment plan, what does that monthly cost come to? I know it's almost It costs you more to go to McDonald's for a family of 4 than it does to pay that monthly.
Yeah, because I mean, really, you're taking, and it depends. Each person is different. So some people will only have a storm lateral assessment if there's existing main in front of the property. If there is not existing main, then you have a storm main assessment also. So in theory, it could be $2,800 or a little over. But you know, you have up to 5 years to pay that back, and so that does help also. But I should be prepared with that monthly, and I'm not.
For some reason, the $35 to $50 a month is always the number that
Shane,
sticks
you
in my
doing
head.
It's like $47.50.
I was gonna say.
I just said 37 to 50. Wasn't that close enough?
No,
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know you were on.
You're getting charged interest in that 5?
Well, that was not calculating in.
Well, that was not calculated in there, but yes, there's an interest charge, I believe.
Yes.
Which
It's
is
the
4 point
same-
something
yeah,
percent.
4.6.
Other questions or comments from the board? Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, Eric, for the main cost, how much are we subsidizing of that?
Yeah, good
Percentage.
question. So the stormwater utility does pay for 80% of the storm main. So, and then the 20% of that is assessed, and that's what the $606.38 represents. So there is also another, pretty high cost that is being absorbed by the stormwater utility to get the main in front of the properties.
Thank you. Alderperson Rash.
And then just for clarification too, what's the purpose again? You probably said this already, but just for emphasis, the purpose of doing this now versus waiting and doing it later when properties, you might be mandated to do it a different way by the state, as the mayor was
Oh,
saying.
no, your storm sewer.
Yeah, well, the benefit to doing it now is, really, we're not including any of the restoration costs for the street and things like that, because the street is already being resurfaced. So there's a significant savings. This would be way more expensive if we did this and we had to include pavement restoration.
Alderperson Carpenter.
As I look at this map and I can see where the storm sewer is, and the 600 block of Superior is a big section that doesn't have storm sewer. So right now, your runoff of your water goes to Merrill Street or goes to Superior Street. I don't know if you have sub pumps in your areas or not, but that's in your house or not. But if you don't have a sub pump, there's a sub pump program, and the city's going to be moving along with that. And you're going to be required to put a sump pump in sooner or later. It isn't a forced thing yet, but Green Bay did it, and it's because that's to meet other requirements from the DNR and everything. So then you're going to have a storm sewer lateral, a main down your street. And the city, as Eric said, pays 80% of that, and then you're paying 20% in the lateral. And another reason, like on that 600 block, they'll probably, I assume, Eric, there's going to be 2 catch basins probably in the middle of the block too, so you're not running such a long stretch? Or are you going to run still from the corner to corners?
There's a high point in the middle where some of the flow goes to Merrill and some of it goes to Beaumere or Bowles. And so we're going to be dropping inlets on the end, and then we'll be running storm main up, but there'll be a gap in there where we won't run storm.
I'm just going to say, because normally it's only so many feet.
Yep.
And there's a catch basin, I'm just saying, on a lot of streets. And then if I look at this map, a lot of it, like I said, the 600 block is the one that doesn't have the main line on it for sure. And then you got part of Beaumere on the top end that doesn't have, and Virginia, that don't have a storm sewer lateral, main in. Am I correct if I look at this properly, that people are going to be putting it in?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Alderperson Ledvina.
I would just add, our street was just redone last year, and a lot of us had drainage issues in the backyard, but not everybody did. My yard specifically had pretty much everybody's yards going right down into our yard, and we were able to connect to the storm sewer lateral. We put a couple of drains in our backyard, and my kids are playing in the backyard right now. In the past, it would have been a swamp. So you might not specifically have backyard drainage issues, but you might have neighbors that do, and it's made such a difference for us, and we're really grateful to the program that we were able to connect when we did.
Other questions or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, I know, Eric, we've been, for quite a few years now, been doing these main and lateral installations with the major street reconstruction projects. Wondering if you could give a sense of what percentage of the city is now covered with mains and laterals, and kind of what the timeline is to get the whole city covered?
So we don't really have a timeline for, when we're going to get the entire city. All the newer development has storm laterals put in, and people are required to connect immediately. So the newer development, the 90s and so forth, even like if you're looking at development time frame, if you're on Ridgeway Boulevard or Ridgeway Drive, when you get from Mandalay towards Libel, all that has storm laterals already that was put in with the development. So we are picking up the older areas. As Shana mentioned, we did East and West St. Francis last year. We've done sections of Huron and Erie when it was reconstructed. We did Wilcox last year. So we are picking up the older areas, and we've made some significant progress, but I don't have a specific timeline, because what we do is, we time our projects with the age of the pavement and some of the water issues that are going, water main issues, and then when we fit the storm in with it. So it's kind of this puzzle of pieces and funds to put the project together. So I don't have a specific time frame, but every year we are doing more, and we're trying to pick up these older areas, particularly where there's poor drainage.
Now, you can also add as well, too, these streets are graded out as to when we go and repair streets and do a repave. That's what happened in these cases, correct? They were up. So it's, again, not singling any particular area out. It's all done with a metric and scientific.
Yes.
All right. So what I'll do right now is, I think another hand kind of popped up. So I'll make a motion to open the meeting.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Rash. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I think you raised your hand in the back, but again, you have to go to the table. That's just how it works. I'm going to extend the 3-minute rule. This is all rules, people. So I'll give you a second chance to speak, and or ask a question, okay?
Joe Schmidt, 614 South Superior
Thank
Street.
you.
Now, if we didn't have any drainage problems, okay, basement or otherwise, when they put in the laterals, because I'll need a lateral, is that going to cause a drainage problem?
Eric, you want to take that?
I guess I'm not quite sure how to answer that question. So, when we put the storm lateral out, does your house have a sump pump now?
No.
So at some point, you'll have to put in a sump pump. And when you put in a sump pump, obviously it's going to pump water from around your foundation drain, your clear water, and it's going to discharge it to grade. So yeah, if you don't have a storm lateral and your sump pump runs all the time, it can create a problem for you. But the two are independent. I mean, you're going to have to put in a sump pump at some point, no matter what. But and that's why we're putting the storm lateral in now. So if you put your sump pump in, it's running all the time. It's creating icing issues in the winter. Some even run so much they get slime growth on the sidewalk in the summer. Now you have a connection point, so you don't have to deal with the sump pump water running all the time. You can connect it to the storm lateral. So that's the purpose.
Okay, so, but the lateral sitting there, not being hooked up.
No, that won't create any issues.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it'll be stubbed behind the sidewalk, like I mentioned just a little while ago, and then it'll just have a plug on it. It'll be plugged.
Okay.
And then whenever you go to hook up, then your plumber cuts the plug off, and away they go.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Other questions or comments? So I'm open here, and I'll add some other stuff too as well. I'll make a motion to go back to regular session.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Rash. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. For those that are here, we just established a sub pump program where they can apply, correct? Do you want to kind of briefly
Yeah,
describe
so-
that? You might want to hear this.
Yeah, we did send some letters out, and hopefully you've received one, but right now, we do have a program in place to install, to assist in the installation of sump pumps. At some point, you're going to need to put one in. If you do it voluntarily this year, we will fund up to 80% of that, up to $5,000 for a sump pump installation. So what you would need to do is contact us. We would go out there and take a look and make sure you've got foundation drains from the best we can tell. If you do, then you would hire a plumber, and they would do the work, coordinating with our office, and then they submit us the invoice. You have to pay, but then you give us the invoice, and we reimburse you for up to 80% of the cost for the sump pump. And this is a voluntary program this year. That's why we're funding up to 80%. There's no guarantee the 80% funding will be there in the future. So we would highly encourage you to take advantage of that. or at least give it consideration, we'd be more than happy to meet with you to talk about it if you're thinking about it, but it's definitely something worth considering because this is, it's not going to be above 80% in the future, so this is a really good opportunity.
So you can contact him or go to the City of Pier website, click on Public Works, and then click on sump pumps. That's 80% picked up. It's not a bad deal. You're going to have to get them eventually if you don't have them, and they'll help determine if you have to get it. So just to get that out there for you guys.
You already have one, will they pay 80% for a new one?
Nice try. Then
Really good. Too bad the meeting wasn't
If you add it in the last year.
Then I get that too.
So, Mayor, wasn't it if they had?
Oh, if it was added in the last year,
Yeah.
the answer is yes. But if you're like me that's had one since I've had my house 22 years, no. And I've already put in 2 sump pumps. We're closed, correct? We're in regular
Yeah, we're
session?
back in regular session.
Okay. Again, I've also brought up, Scott, you want to bring this up very briefly? So everyone understands exactly why we're here and why we have to do this?
So approximately 10 years ago, went through the board and council, we created an ordinance for storm sewer and a lateral installation. And the reason that was created back then, we had a lot of projects that were kind of canceled because, residents would come and say, we didn't need storm, I don't have issues with sump pumps or drainage or that sort of thing. And Eric and staff and his team developed a policy. We created this ordinance. So at least during construction, so all new construction is required, all street reconstruction, and then street resurfacing projects are required if there's drainage issues or a property owner requests it. So the ordinance itself kind of sets it in stone when the storm sewer goes in and along with the laterals.
So we're bound by law. I mean, that's the way it
Correct.
is. So you understand, this is the least favorite part of our job. I mean, it flat out is. No one wants to require anyone to pay money. Most of us have already done this and probably will in the future. We don't enjoy this at all. But I've been on Public Works since 2008, and we did put in the payback plan and try to do the best we can to help in what could be a very difficult situation. No one enjoys this part of what we do, but it is for the benefit of the whole city and for the homeowner itself, and that gives us just a little bit of solace, but there's nothing easy in any of this. Alderperson Rash.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. So I've been on Public Works since 2014. And when we first put this in place, the whole idea around it really was we want to make it as painless as possible because it's something that has to be done anyway, unfortunately. We have things like this that have to be done. A lot of this infrastructure doesn't last forever. We thought while we're doing it, make the upgrades at the same time. But we put the payment plans in place. We put, you put it off till 25 years until you sell your house. Anything like that to help make this as easy a transition as possible because it's necessary. The other advantage to it, when we do the street work, that's covered by a referendum that was passed years ago. So that's why there's no cost to the street side of it. So you're already paying for that in the taxes. This is just that other section of it that has to get taken care of. But it was, I think before it was just basically projects were getting shut down and nothing was moving forward and getting fixed and done. But a lot of this comes complaint driven as well. People complaining about my yard floods every spring, Shayna, right? And this was a way to resolve it and make it work. And for the past 10 plus years, it's been working really well. I get, it sucks that you got to pay something, but this is the best way to do it for the city as a whole. And we're doing everything we can to make it as easy to get those covered, those costs paid, whether it's the 5-year plan, if you can pay it right away, or defer it for 25 years. If you sell the house, it just gets paid out of the proceeds of the house. I mean, so there's a lot of options for that. So we wanted to really make it as painless as possible, but it's also a necessity, unfortunately.
Thank you. Alderperson Carpenter.
Eric, water main being replaced on all this project too?
Yeah.
So that would be just a reference to anybody, when the water main, that you're not paying for the new water main to be put in, and they'll run a new lateral up to your service that you have. Am I correct, Eric? And everything. Because when we do these projects, years ago, we'd go in and just do water main projects and never do the street. Now they're trying to coordinate streets that need to be repaired. If water main is old in there, it's going to go bad someday. And this is where people would get mad years ago, was the street would get resurfaced. Of course, that winter or in the spring or whenever, main pops and there they are digging holes in the brand new street. People get mad. So besides the storm lateral getting done, water mains being replaced, there's other items all getting done in the street that's very beneficial to making your street last longer and be a better street.
Thank you. Eric, you want to add on that? That's a pretty good
No,
explanation.
you got it right on the head.
Yeah, that's our expert right there, Dan Carpenter.
Yeah, 30 years digging up streets? and-
Yep.
Any additional questions and/or comments? And again, this we're voting on right now is, I got to bring this back up because I went to the city website. We're voting on the resolution for special assessments for storm sewer and main laterals. Preliminary. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Rash. Any additional discussion and/or comments? Scott?
Just a kind of reminder, this is just a preliminary resolution. So all the folks in the audience or online, we'll have a public hearing next month. So that's when the actual board approves the project. So you have one more opportunity to address the board or ask any questions at that time.
And again, if you have questions, please reach out to Eric and engineering. Betty?
Mayor, would you mind amending your motion to approve the preliminary resolution, set a 5-year payback option, and schedule the public hearing for May 13th, 2024?
I will make that and accept the amendment.
I'll second.
We're both good? All right, very good. That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excuse me. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Everyone voting aye. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. You don't have to say. We got about 15 more items, so I would run. Thank you. Item 3, consideration and possible action on proposal for Scheuring Road Reservoir cleaning and overcoating. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Rash. Questions or comments? Alderperson Carpenter.
Under A, and it doesn't matter, but if you click on A, it states everything about enterprise.
I didn't hear you, Dan.
Under A of that number 3, on A items, Scheuring Road Reservoir cleaning and overcoating 2024.
Yep.
It's all states enterprise and not Scheuring Road.
It's supposed to be Scheuring Road, correct?
And just to say, so if you want to have that corrected for the next
Yep.
meeting or whatever, I'm just bringing up,
Good catch.
yeah, I'm just saying, that everything else was there, but that wasn't.
Does everyone
Eric,
understand?
Eric, you want to take them outside? Yeah,
Sorry.
Thank you.
We'll go without you, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
We know what you're going to say anyway.
No.
Go ahead.
So just for clarification, Dan, what were you referring to?
I click on under consideration, then you got action printout, and then it says A, Scheuring Road Reservoir cleaning and overcoating. Oh, excuse me, and the bottom of that water tower, you got no bids, but it all says enterprise,
yeah.
enterprise, each
Enterprise
company.
Reservoir.
Yep.
I apologize. I was checked out for a second. Are you thinking this over here or what?
Trying to see what he's referring to.
So, I mean, if you're following the agenda, it's right under,
Oh, yeah, Dan, I see it.
you know, I'm just saying,
Yep.
it's not a big, it has nothing to do with any affect this, but I just wanted to make sure it's corrected then. Thank you. I make a motion to,
Yeah, I see that.
I'll second that. Motion by Alderperson Carpenter. Oh, we already did it? Oh, we already have it.
all right, sorry.
Any additional discussion and/or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We might need Eric back for this one, unless you want to handle 4.
We can try.
Okay. Item 4, consideration and possible action on 2024 sidewalk repair orders and special charges. Scott?
So this is basically the every year 1/8 of the city program that the city goes through, inspects existing sidewalk throughout the community. This year the repairs are on the east side of the Fox River, basically south of Charles, east of South Ontario and Jordan Road. What happens now, we bid it as part of a project, staff goes by and that general vicinity and actually inspects the sidewalk and then basically notifies the property owners of the panels or squares that actually have to be fixed. I know in the past, Eric actually comes up with, there's numerous, I believe, properties that have charges that will exceed $1,000. So what we have done in the past is for those properties that have exceed that $1,000, that there be a 5-year payback with the interest rate being 4.6%. So basically, staff is recommending the board approve the order for sidewalk repairs and payback period for special charges for the 2024 sidewalk repair program.
Thank you. Now, I think there might be someone out there, so before we get a motion and/or questions, anyone in virtual land want to speak on this item on the agenda? This would be sidewalk repair orders and special items. Item number 4. Anyone out there want to speak on this one? Okay. Alderperson Carpenter, do you have a question?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve.
Very
I'll
good.
second. Oh, go ahead.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Ledman. Questions and/or comments? Alderperson Carpenter.
So all these people know the costs that we're approving right now tonight, or has that been given to them yet?
No, our practice is to take this to the board for the orders, and then once you approve it, we send them a letter, and then we have to publish this whole document in the paper as the legal notice, and then they get notified. So that's why, so nobody's been notified of this yet.
Okay.
And that is our standard procedure. That's the way we've always done it. The good news is, because we had really no frost in the ground, we're 1 month ahead. Normally, we don't bring this till May, so we're getting it out as early as we can to get people more notice so they have the opportunity. Because again, they could have no charge from the city if they repair it themselves.
Right.
Very good. Other questions or comments?
Mayor?
Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, Eric, can you just talk about again, if they do it themselves, what the process is to get the city to inspect and to sign off?
Yeah, so ideally, they would notify us that they're going to do it themselves, and then once it's completed, they're supposed to notify us again. We do try to double check everything before our contractor arrives, because sometimes, after the deadline, people will still do a repair. And it's been a few years since we've had a repair ripped out. It did happen many, many years ago, but we do try to be on top of it. But we encourage, people to contact us, because we need to inspect the repair, make sure it's acceptable, and then they'll be taken off the list.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else questions, comments? Sorry about that. Seeing there are no more, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5, consideration and possible action on city engineer parking and traffic recommendations. Eric?
Sorry, I'm a little behind here,
No.
and I apologize for talking in here. Sorry.
No, we just kicked you out. That's fine.
It's all good. Okay. I'm caught up. Sorry about that. Okay, so we've got just a couple of real quick things. First, we talked about it at one of the board meetings previously when we were looking at parking on George Street. And what we would like to do is include parking back on George Street on the south side between Huron and Erie. And it would be from Huron to about 85 feet west of Erie Street. And I can show you on dime where that would be. So we would allow parking from the end of the bump out right about here to this light pole right here. So you'd still have enough room to get a couple vehicles if someone was making a right turn, and it would keep it from the intersection. And that would kind of mimic, because parking is allowed on the north side there, and we would set it for the 3 hours to match the rest of the corridor. So we're recommending adding that parking. And then, do you want me to just go through all three?
That's fine. Any questions on that one? Alderperson Hanson?
Yeah, I'm okay with this. I mean, the left turn, obviously, we had a lot of concerns about from Huron onto George. But at least with this, they're taking a left. It's controlled by the stoplight at Erie. So it shouldn't be any vision triangle issues, huh, Eric?
It won't be any different than the rest of the corridor. I mean, the entire corridor is, if you're making a turn out of here, there's parked cars on both sides. So it's the same. I mean, everything mirrors. But the beauty of George Street, and that's why I kind of like the idea of adding the parking, is that is the best street for people not speeding. I drive home that way all the time, and I'm doing about 22 because that's about all I feel comfortable. And sometimes it's not even that. And nobody else is in a rush because it's very tight, and it's good. People are paying attention to pedestrians. So I don't think it'll create any significant issues now.
Other questions on that one? All right, next.
Okay, the next one is to add a no truck route sign. Now, if you recall, several years ago, we changed our program because we had to from the state, to put truck route signs up, not
No truck route.
no truck route. We still left some of the no truck route signs up where we had issues with trucks were using it on a regular basis. But we're still having an ongoing issue down here on American at Garriman. We've had quite a bit of education with the Georgia Pacific. We had our message board out there for a while, and the police are still saying there's quite a few cut-through trucks yet. So, we can't keep our message board out there forever. So we'd like to put a no truck route sign right here, just so it's perfectly clear.
Very good.
I just,
Oh, Alderperson
I
Carpenter.
know the police have, so are they handing out citations, quite a few, or what? I mean, usually the word gets out.
The
if
answer
you
is
if you get punished
yes.
enough, they are. You're still having issues out there. I know that.
And I've gotten emails from some of them as well too, and we are not being generous or kind to them. So,
Okay, I'm just trying to, I'm just going to be point blank, because yes, they are. I can see them going down where they don't belong.
next,
Okay, are we good with that one?
I believe so. Yes, yes.
Okay, so the last one we have is, currently we have a no engine brake sign on French Road, which, trucks can use to get to Southbridge. Well, that sign's going to come out because French Road is now going to be connected up to the interchange here, and we're going to have a roundabout here at French and Innovation. So what staff is recommending is, theoretically now, you can have trucks coming in on French Road, but we've also got a new entrance into the city with the overpass. So we're proposing to put the no truck route right sign after you kind of come out of the roundabout
No
here.
truck break.
No truck
sorry.
braking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Otherwise, if we have no truck route there, we could be in a
No,
little
no
bit of
Jake
trouble.
brake.
Yeah, that would be bad. Thank you, Dean.
You're talking about engine braking.
You're like it. You've become an engineer.
Spent 21 years.
Or something. Or something.
So yes, a no engine brake sign. Thank you. But we would move it to, so when you come out of the roundabout and you kind of get situated going straight, that's where we would put the sign. So once the roundabout is built, we'll put the sign back up.
Very good. Thank you. Other questions or comments or catches?
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Rash, seconded by Alderperson Ledman. Any additional discussion or comments? Seeing there are none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 6, discuss city engineer recommendations on no action parking and traffic discussion items. Eric.
So the next one is, related right here at City Hall. We had a request to restrict parking on Lewis Street. And this is one that if it becomes a chronic issue, could always bring back. But Lewis Street is 32-foot wide by the Cultural Center. And what we were starting to see is people were parking on Lewis Street. And we believe it was associated with employees parking there during the day initially. So we were getting some complaints about congestion because with 32 foot, it's tighter for vehicles traveling, directly across from one another with cars parked on both sides. But 32 feet is our standard right now for parking on both sides of local residential streets. We have been monitoring it. I had staff out there every time they went through taking pictures, and there have not been a lot of vehicles parking during the day. Obviously, if you have a big event, you could have some congestion, but on the other hand, congestion with a big event isn't bad either because then people drive slower. So right now, we're not recommending any action, any parking restrictions out there. If things become a chronic, we could take a look at it. But we have a street that's 32 foot. If we start restricting parking, and we don't have to, all it's going to do is push parking farther and farther into other neighborhoods. So we thought, let's try to keep it for now.
Thank you. Questions or comments on that? Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, I appreciate staff researching this. I did have a constituent bring this forward who lives on Wisconsin. I know we've also talked about doing a larger study on the traffic impact after the Mulva Center has been open for a few months. So I'm wondering where that kind of is at.
Yeah,
we also had a request
we were kind
about-
of just taking a look. I mean, I don't know that that's part of Dan's big study. I can have my staff look at it periodically during the day and kind of monitor what's going on. We haven't had during the day, and maybe people are coming on weekends when we're not here. Staff isn't here, but I'm not seeing a lot of parking during the day right now.
I mean, I drive by there every single day, 3 or 4 times. I'm just not seeing issues, number one. Number two, it looks like the employees are parking in the lot, not that they have to, because now they have those 2 lots. So they're emptied off the street, and I haven't seen any issues whatsoever at all. And I haven't seen double parking on both sides on Lewis, other than the first couple of weeks. Now that's just dropped off, because there's so much parking in the lots that they have.
Yeah,
So now
so
the
we could
employees
kinda
are in, they're
see-
off the street, and it's just not an issue.
Most of the streets in the area are 32. The one nuance is Michigan is a 32-foot, but we only have parking on one side of Michigan. But that's a product of the fact that it was a school, so it kind of carried over from the school days. Otherwise, I think you'd have parking on both sides of Michigan. But it's the side right next to the Mulvas. We only have parking on one side here.
I still like that. Plus, they can park on church days in the Mulva parking lot, which is what most of them do now. That's what I'm seeing. But to answer your question, so Dan, we'll talk to Dan and see if that's something that they're going to look into and overall, because we did talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
An
we did.
overarching look.
I originally thought it was going to be part of his parking study, but I don't think it is anymore. So I'll bring it up. I mean, if we start to see that we can take a look at it from a staff standpoint, you know, if it's occurring during the week. I just have people go out there and do park car counts, and then we kind of document and we take pictures.
Now, I've had 0 emails regarding parking. I don't know if anyone else, or phone calls. I've had none.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean none of you have not, but what are you?
I don't want to get too far off topic, but the reason I brought it up was because I also had a constituent who was concerned that we changed what side of South Michigan parking is restricted on the 200 block by the church from the east side to the west side. And then kind of as part of that larger discussion, we said, we'll take a look at the larger traffic patterns after the Mulva Center's been open.
What side's it on? What side is it on? No
We
parking.
moved it to the west side, which
Just trying to remember.
kind of fit better because people going to the Mulva site or even the church don't have to cross the road. They're on the same side as the facility they're most likely to use. It also benefited Mulvas because that's where their semis come in and out, so they couldn't turn. They couldn't make the corner with the trucks because they need to swing wide. And so with the cars on the east side, they couldn't make it work. But from my perspective, the big reason was a lot of the people that are temporarily parking during the day there are going to either the Mulvas or the church. And now you're on the same side as that facility and you don't have to cross the road mid-block because people don't want to walk to the crosswalks. They like to take the most direct route.
Good.
Okay, great. Other questions or comments? Did you want to make a comment, or are you okay?
I'm okay.
Okay. Was that, I'm sorry, I went away. Was that everything, or do you have another one?
No.
All right, we have no action on those, correct, people? Okay. Let's go to item 7, consideration and possible action on DOT municipal agreement for Southbridge Interchange. Who wants this one? Scott?
So this is part of the I-41 widening project where the DOT's constructing a new interchange at Southbridge and I-41. Basically what it is a state municipal financial agreement, you know, at this point, kind of just covering any costs for any sanitary or water adjustments that may occur. There will be future agreements that will be coming for revisions. I'll give you an example is the bridge that's going over 41 as part of the interchange. The town and the city's requested the aesthetics of the bridge looks similar to Scheuring Road, so there'll be some cost sharing we'll have for that. We felt that internally that we should try to match that bridge. That's probably the most major expense you'll see coming forward on that, but this is just the first of probably several to come.
Generally speaking, what's the ballpark total amount here? I think there's a couple in here.
$1,500.
Okay, so just so residents put that in perspective.
It's a good deal when they're picking up 16.7 million.
Yeah, I think we'll take these little things, these little changes.
Little wins.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Rash. Any additional discussion or comments? Seeing there are none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8, consideration and possible action for the installation of left turn lanes on Main Avenue at 8th Street.
So as you, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Scott.
So as the board is aware, we've been working with the DOT with the upcoming reconstruction of Main and Reed that's going to occur in 2028. Originally, that this intersection at 8th and Main, they had planned when they originally were going to rebuild it back in 2012, was supposed to be 2 left turn lanes for east and westbound on Main Avenue, similar to 9th Street. Since that time, the traffic patterns have changed, the traffic volumes have changed, and the DOT felt it is not warranted any longer. It didn't help that when we redid our signal, we have a delayed left turn lane similar here at City Hall, which accommodates more left turns without blocking traffic. So Eric and his team, myself included, we kind of pushed the issue with the DOT. We brought some other things. We wanted them to analyze that intersection further. They come back and said, really, their traffic volumes, their projections show it does not warrant a left turn lanes on Main Avenue. However, they actually said that if the city wanted the left turn lanes, the additional cost would be $310,000, 100% responsible by the city. That does not include any right-of-way costs. You're probably looking, under a couple $100,000 in right-of-way costs by the time we look in, widen it. At this point, staff is not recommending funding the installation of left turn lanes at Main Avenue and 8th Street because of the cost and plus the right-of-way costs. I do want to point out, it's in your packet, one of the things that they did feel as part of the study is that the going westbound, they felt part of the congestion happening, backing up traffic going westbound was the fact that people were trying to turn right going north onto 8th Street. So you'll see in your packet an exhibit showing a right turn drop lane that they're going to add as part of the project. No cost to the city, but they figured that will actually help traffic and some of the impacts there. I know there's been kind of a discussion, I think Alderperson Hanson, you brought up, there is no existing left turn or right turn lane there now. So what they're proposing is an additional lane starting in front of Quick Trip ways and then basically to allow 2-3 vehicles to get in to kind of hopefully get that right turn lane, a northern part lane, to make that movement. That's the predominant movement that they're seeing as part of their analysis.
That's great news.
I would agree.
I kind of make that a drop lane sometimes. You kind of skinny your way in there. Alderperson Carpenter.
So the state is picking up that longer drop lane and everything.
Right turn lane, yes.
And right now you can get, depends how tight you want to back in on somebody, you can get 2 vehicles easily in the one that's there. So I'm assuming you will get 4 to 5 maybe, just looking at this. So, yeah, yes, I'm not in favor. Since we put that left arrow in there, it has really changed that. I'm just going to say it.
Or you can cut in the Quick Trip parking lot and then kind of make that your right turn. I didn't say that. I was
Actually, that's on the record, so yes. you did say that.
Was that part of the discussion?
Is that a new tweedle you're making there?
There was one thing, though, I remember we talked about going east. This was actually a serious thing. But going east, that they were thinking of possibly some signage that would help make people alert when the lanes go from 2 to 1, when it skinnies down. That would be like further back, and possibly, and then possibly signage could be up to that left turn lane further back, making sure people know to get in that left lane. Just, that was something I think that was talked about. That would be a little cost, but a little more awareness earlier in the game.
They're still evaluating that intersection. Okay. What they wanted to do is put this issue with the 8th and Main to bed. Either we're moving forward with left turn lanes or not. Because they're starting to get full blown into design. That issue, because of there have been some accidents, concerns brought up at public informational meetings. I believe it's still being evaluated as you respond at that intersection. I believe it's 7th Street.
Okay, thank you. Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, I don't think we need a designated left turn lane for westbound traffic. I mean, the only thing really that you would take a left onto 8th Street is if you're going to Associated Bank or that strip mall where Game Capital is. But I would like to know more about what the cost would be if we just do a designated left turn lane for eastbound traffic, because I do agree the lead left turn arrow has helped, but it doesn't last that long. And then once somebody is ready to take, or once someone gets up there who's going to take a left turn, then the traffic queues up behind them and they try to go around on the right lane. The other thing too that I would like to know is the pavement isn't in very good condition on Main Ave between 8th and 9th Street, and I believe that is the city's responsibility. So this $300,000 cost, I assume a significant part of it is pavement replacement. But if we are going to need to replace that pavement in the near future anyway, it seems like it would be a good time to do it as part of this larger reconstruction project.
Scott?
So the issue with just having one left turn lane versus another, you still have to widen the street. So I mean, you are correct. For example, if we paid the 310,000 to add a full 12-foot lane for the left turn lanes, we would go further to the west. I mean, there is significant pavement. It's not in the best shape between 9th and 8th. So I mean, anything that the state will pick up, like for example, what they're proposing now, they're only go so far back, and you're probably going to have a couple hundred feet that potentially going to have some pavement repairs or something we have to do in the future. So just with the left turn lane, like you're talking about, you're still going to have a couple $100,000 in cost because you have to widen. You still you have to buy a good chunk of right of way on that side where the wine cellar and that sort is. And then, like I said, you just can't. You have a lane, so you got to move your right lanes that are going eastbound now, shift them to the south, and then they basically got to keep following that path till you get through the intersection and come back. So I mean, you're still going to have a wide area on the east side of that intersection just to get the traffic back where it needs to be. So you're not going to save that much more money by just doing one lane versus the two. And like I said, with staff's recommendation, you're looking with the right of way and that the left turn lanes, you're 600,000 plus, and we don't feel it warrants spending that amount of money when the intersections function now with the delay left. And the DOT claims what Southbridge goes in, it's the traffic projections, they think it's even going to be less.
Alderperson Carpenter?
And I totally agree with staff here on that, and I agree with the state on the Southbridge. 100%. Are we building a South Bridge that's not going to have no traffic on it? It's going to take away traffic off of Main Street. It's a lot of traffic, I got to believe. So I'm totally on board with the staff on this. I drove through there more than once. I drive through that area. I kind of pay attention. I think the people that travel that area know that there's the left lane there can get backlog. So unless they're racing trying to get to point A to point B, you technically should be watching ahead of you and getting in the right lane and being prepared to move. You can watch people as they do it, and that arrow has helped a lot. I mean, so the worst scenario, you add a couple more seconds to that arrow if you thought it was if needed. Right now, I think it's working fine.
Alderperson Rash?
Yeah, and I agree with Alderperson Carpenter. Obviously, I go through this intersection probably more than anybody because I live in the area. Traffic flow there is much, much better than it has been in the 25 years that I've lived in that area. So that left turn that goes on, that's made a big difference. Yes, and I look up ahead if I see flashers on and cars in front, I'm moving over to the right lane because I know this way I got to get around it. But it works, and even coming off of 8th heading north or heading south, I come through those turn lanes are working out really well also, and you can actually get 3 cars wide on the north side of 8th going towards Main. So all that traffic flows really well also. So I haven't seen any issues in years since we made these adjustments. So.
Thank you. And I do get it. I mean, this is a decision that will, last for decades, and it's what we have. We're not going to make a change after that. I also realize that we're going to incur a number of expenses along this whole corridor on 32 that we would not have done in the last, before 5 years ago. So it's going to be quite expensive.
Right.
We're going to have to pick and choose, and if that's where we pick and choose, so be it. I would like, I mean, that you do a need and a want.
That's a want.
I just don't think we have to have that, unfortunately. But there have been changes made. It has gotten better, and we all drive that. It has gotten better. Now, we're not going to change the bottleneck that we have 2 to 1 toward the train bridge. That is what it is. Yeah, I know. Unless you found $20-30 million.
I have not found it
Not yet.
I'm still looking.
Darn it. Other questions or comments? We're just picking our poisons here.
Do we need to make a motion?
We have a motion in a second, correct?
No.
I'll make a motion to deny.
Staff is recommending not funding the installation of.
Okay, so the recommendation that staff made regarding, does that all make sense? Betty, you okay with that?
I can
So you're making a motion to approve the recommendation from staff to not?
Yes, making a motion to approve the recommendation of staff. You good on that one? Second by Alderperson Ledbetter.
Sure, yeah.
Did you want to phrase it any differently? Or are you okay
I
with
think
that?
that's great.
I think that's
I don't know if
great.
Betty agrees, but
Betty's fine.
She's got white out.
Swear, fine. Any additional questions or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
I'll vote for the motion, but just like with the railroad overpass, really the buck stops with DOT. It's their state connecting highway. They should be the one making these improvements.
And I wish that as well.
Perfect
You're
scenario.
100% correct. That's a great statement. Yeah. Maybe it'll change in a few years. Mhm. That said, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9, consideration and possible action on seeking proposals for transportation utilities. Scott.
So the board has discussed in the past that transportation utility is an alternative source for funding street projects. Basically, what the transportation utility fee is basically establishing, utilizing the amount of property uses local streets. An example of this is, for example, you have a commercial property, say McDonald's, the amount of trip traffic, people coming in and out of there versus your own residential home is significantly a lot higher for McDonald's than, say, the typical residential. So basically, most transportation utilities that are established, they come up with a chip generation rate. And we were originally going to look and evaluate that as part of this year's budget, where I was going to hire a firm to kind of come in and study and create chip generation. So you as the board and the council know, what does that mean for a residential user? What does it mean for, let's say, like a McDonald's or a church or a school? Because we've been talking about it. I mean, there's so many different ways that they can fund it, but I guess it would give you an idea what a typical, and primarily most people that would be affected would be residential property owners. Now, there's may be some big bills on a commercial side or an industrial side, but that's what the consultant would come on board and actually recommend the different properties and how they would get charged. Unfortunately, since the beginning of the year, one of the Village of Milwaukee's transportation utility has been challenged. Actually, kind of, they were challenged similarly to the town of Buchanan, as far as it was a fee that was established that they weren't allowed to establish. Right now, the Village of Milwaukee is challenging it, taking it to the Supreme Court, because they believe the way they settled on the town is different than a village or a city. We have different, I don't know, there are different statutes and requirements for a city versus a town. So the Village of Milwaukee feels quite confident that the Supreme Court's probably going to overturn it. And actually probably will set precedents then if that happens for communities all across the state, for villages or cities. So that being said, you know, we feel as staff it probably makes the most sense to actually delay putting out this proposal to hire a consultant to look at a transportation utility fee until such time that the Supreme Court rules on the Village of Milwaukee.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, I know, Scott, we've talked in the past about possibly limiting sidewalk assessments if we can get a transportation utility. So I'm guessing then that that's kind of not a possibility for next year then, and we'd have to look in future years. Or when
Correct.
exactly is the timeline for the court?
So talking to our city attorney, could be sometime in 2025 before we hear.
Oh, wow.
You know, so I mean, it wouldn't be anything that we would probably implement, because we still have to hire a firm to do it. And the firm that actually set up Milwaukee's is some similar firm that we probably end up hiring. They're known for establishing it. What I wanted to do ultimately, is this didn't happen, was bring this to the council and board for this budget, so you guys can determine what you're doing. You're exactly right. We talked about getting rid of the charges for sidewalk and just having a city do it instead of, you know, like we talked earlier, charging the properties as part of that utility. And also the need that we need to start creating $400,000 to $500,000 more of revenue just for resurfacing, because we're at a referendum we passed almost 20 years ago, doesn't pay as many miles a street as it used to. So, I mean, the city's eventually, if this doesn't pan out, the transportation utility, the city's gonna have to look at different options in the future. How do we fund, keep moving forward to try to maintain what we've been doing, say, a decade ago for our street projects?
Any more? Alderperson Hanson?
Nope.
Other questions? Alderperson Carpenter?
Yeah, as I think more about this, I'm not even in favor of this anymore, just because we've been promoting our industrial parks and everything. We just put that big warehouse out there, and now you're going to go through a punishment to them. You wanted them out there. We're happy to have them. They pay our taxes. They're helping our TIFs, all our projects, and now you want to slap a big penalty on them. On any of your industrial parks, you're just punishing them, and I think you're going to kill our industrial parks. So I'm just going to say how I feel for the future. I'm going to wish more for a referendum or something than to go out and punish, or we'll have to find other ways. But unless you're telling businesses as they're moving in here, we are really looking for this utility thing, that would only be the fair thing to do to any business coming out there, that they know it. So,
Scott, you want to respond to that?
And really, it's, the study that we're going to do, having a consultant, wasn't about establishing the transportation utility. It was really to give you folks on the board and the council, because we're speculating. What is it? I mean, what is that commercial user? I mean, industrial user versus, say, a commercial user versus residential. This would actually lay it out. Granted, the city would spend, $25,000 to do it, but then you would know to make the informed decision. Oh, well, maybe industrial users is not as bad as, say, a festival food that has all the traffic coming in and out. And a lot of the, people that actually come in and out to shop or use these facilities are not paying the property taxes that actually fund the streets and stuff like that. And that's why they get charged a user charge, and that's set. So really, it's, if it were to go forward, it has nothing to do with establishing. It's just to give you information what these various properties would do.
And again, we're going nowhere, so everyone out there realizes that.
So-
We're not going
so-
anywhere
so
right now.
back to that. I
We'll get
know-
this speech in 2 years, so
Yeah, this is.
I'll write it
but-
down.
But I'm just saying, as we go to that, again, you have people that live on cul-de-sacs that get their streets repaired a lot less than other people have their streets repaired and cost to do things. And there's no sidewalks on them. There's always misfortunes. It'll come up later on. I have nothing wrong with a study being done,
Sure.
but
To help us make a decision.
make a
yes or no,
decision,
right,
but
right,
I'm
yep.
just gonna say, I don't care. Festival, we got desert areas in Green Bay and other places complaining about we don't have enough grocery stores. So now you're gonna create I don't care where the people come from, a chase that the store don't wanna be in De Pere.
So you're kind of neutral then right now?
I'm very
On
neutral
something
on
that
this
we're not
right
going to do potentially
Yes,
ever.
I'm very, not neutral. I'm very neutral on this.
Alderperson Ledwin,
Just to be fair, though, if we did go back to referendum, these properties could end up getting nailed with a higher cost.
either way.
You
Yeah,
know,
I
than
understand
What we
that.
would set as a max maybe for the utility, the transportation utility.
I agree on
So-
that.
Alderperson Rash, you going to stay for this decision and then making a decision that you're going to stick around longer?
No. A couple of things, and this is more of a technical question. I think it's a city attorney question, but the referendum that we have in place now, can that referendum either be modified, sunsetted, and a new one put in place, or how does that all work? So that you can actually reset your number versus a 900,000.
I'm going to say no to that one. That's pretty clear. It was that number and that number only.
But what I'm
we have to
saying
do
is,
another
can that-
referendum.
That referendum be voted out and a new referendum be voted in? You just have to vote another one in to say we want 400,000 more.
That's
Another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was one of my questions. The other thing, just for correction, we haven't been talking in a favorable way about this transportation utility, because I know I've been against it since we started talking about it. So just for the record, want to make sure that I made that clear for my final meeting. But I'll also say that I disagree with the whole transportation utility thing as well. I think it's just it's a slick way of putting a new tax in place. We're calling it a fee, but it's still a tax. And I think there's got to be a different way or a better way to do it. And don't bring a wheel tax back in either, because that one, if I was here in a few months, which I'm not, so I'm asking for anybody who's applying for my position to fight in behalf of the taxpayer on this one and not do a wheel tax or this, because it really is a tax. And I think that's where That's where the state is going with these rulings, is that it's an impermissible tax. Now, granted, maybe the villages, towns, and something else can do it differently, but I still think it's a tax, and it's just kind of sliding around the gamut of those rules a little bit, so.
Thank you. Scott, sorry about that. Scott.
So what I just wanted to just bring up to the board, kind of clarification, because, you know, you've actually asked staff over the years to look at ways for different funding, different things, you know, from referendums to wheel tax to whatever else. So one of the things is with the transportation utility, and I've done a lot of research on that versus, say, a wheel tax. The wheel tax, for example, that was out there, charges based off, you know, your license plate. It really hit the residential property owner. Businesses weren't charged, the schools weren't charged, nobody was charged. It really, anybody that owned a home, they got penalized for it. So I brought this up to the board before. I says, if anything, you don't want to do that, you want to do the transportation utility. And the reason you want to do the transportation utility is because we can do another referendum, absolutely. But guess what? Your nonprofits or your schools, all of those that use a lot of your streets, and that's for the wear and tear, are not paying for any of that referendum to raise the taxes to actually, you know, pay for it. For example, if you put in a referendum, you know, we're going to get rid of sidewalk assessment. Guess what? The schools aren't paying for that, but yet they're getting away, their sidewalk assessments, and all go bye-bye, is part of it. So you got to look at for the equities when you're looking for that funding. I mean, the tax and the referendum is a great way, but it's not going to impact everybody equally.
I'm just talking to Betty here right now. We don't really need a motion. I mean, it's just,
Well, we need to, because it's in a budget. I put it on the board for discussion. I'd like to have a recommendation to go to council because really not to pursue hiring a consultant.
all right, I'll make a motion to not pursue hiring a consultant
Well, I agree
for the
with that.
transportation.
At this time.
At this time.
No, just in general, period. Stop.
At this time.
As long as I'm on this council, it's not happening.
Do we have a second?
That's my second. As long as I'm on this council, it's not happening.
Second by Alderperson Hanson. Any additional discussion and/or comments? The emphasis being at this time. That said, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries with Alderperson Rash voting nay. Do I have that correct?
Yes, because you did not say until,
I'm with you. Yeah.
no, I'll revise, I'll go to aye.
Are you revising going to aye?
Yeah.
He's revising going to aye. You got a really, really heavy sigh over here, by the
Thanks,
way.
Betty.
Really heavy sigh. Item 10, consideration and possible action on award of contract 2402 Ridgeway Drive Pavement Rehabilitation.
Make a motion to approve the bid from Kruchek.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Hanson, seconded by Alderperson Carpenter. Any discussion or comments? I do like that we have so many bids for all these projects. That's really impressive. Alderperson Hanson.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about the utility relay going from Webster to Mandalay on Ridgeway, not going from Mandalay to Libel.
So that section, so for instance, in that area, we have from Mandalay to Libel, the sanitary is already PVC, so we have PVC laterals, PVC main. The water main is ductile iron versus cast iron, which is older in the section that we're relaying. And that section from Mandalay to Libel also has storm sewer and laterals already. So it's a newer section. That's why we're not touching the utilities.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing there are none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 11, consideration and possible action on award of contract 2404 Waterview Heights Utility and Street Construction Phase 2. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Rash. I think I counted 11 contractor bids on this one. Wow. Questions or comments?
It's 10.
Is it 10? Oh. I was counting contractor on the top. See how
Oh, okay.
that's
Yep.
confusing?
Never admit you're wrong.
Sounds like an old De Pere High School teacher.
That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. You do realize that he shouldn't have really corrected the mayor anyways. I should have
No.
been right all along. So.
Sounds like a De Pere High School teacher.
I didn't know who was.
Don't correct
I didn't
me,
say
children.
who was wrong. Right?
Correct.
Item 12.
Again.
Consideration
I'll
and
try.
possible action on award of contract 2406, concrete street repairs.
Move to approve Summers construction bid.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Ledbetter, second by Alderperson Rash. Discussion or comments? Seeing there are none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go to item 13, consideration and possible action on award of contract 2409, Prosper Street Ditch Rehabilitation.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Ledbetter. Questions or comments? Alderperson Carpenter.
I just curious, I never heard of this company, even though I made a motion to approve, because I assume you guys say they're good. Is this a new contractor?
Yeah, what we do is we have our pre-qual process where we review their financials, their equipment, past projects, and make sure they've done similar type work. So that's why they were approved. It's the ditch off of Double P going to the pond that we share with Ledgeview, which is eroding from our storm sewer. So it isn't overly complicated, so we're comfortable.
Right, and I just noticed it wasn't a company
Seems like a
that,
couple of newer type companies we
Yeah.
haven't seen before. And that's good,
Yeah.
right?
yes.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing there are none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 14, consideration and possible action on award of contract 2415, Sewer Televising.
Make a motion to approve. The
Se-
great
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Rash, seconded by Alderperson Carpenter. Any comments or questions? Seeing there are none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Up next, future agenda items. Alderperson Rash, you got about 50 of them or what?
Yeah, hang on, I gotta get my list up.
And because you're going to go, never mind. Anyone have anything? Anyone? Okay. Up next, we'll need a motion to adjourn. We'll reserve that for Alderperson Rash. Oh, boy.
Okay, fine. I will make a motion to adjourn my very last Board of Public Works meeting
Yay.
over the last 10 years.
I will second that. Motion by Alderperson Rash.
What are you trying to get rid of me?
Seconded by me. Any additional discussion and or comments? Scott?
So you've been on the Board of Public Works for 10 years?
Yep, this is the first board I got appointed to outside of License Committee.
So you've been a kind of a champion for public works and stuff, so you'll truly be missed. So
I appreciate that. The only thing I request, Scott, because you might have some pull on that, once we finally make some, I'd like a Generations Boulevard sign with the De Pere logo on it as a going away present from you.
I don't. That's got to come from the mayor.
Came up with
Hey, hey, you're getting a plaque.
Or Eric, actually,
Don't push it. Don't push it, buddy. You should well, we'll work on that.
Okay, and don't forget the fire truck ride with Stanley too.
Well, the police car that's taking out of the police car taking out of town is the best you're gonna get.
Yeah, but I don't want to wear their bracelets.
I was hoping we get one more storm so I could.
Did we have a vote? Did we have a, yeah,
Purposely, what, plow my street, folks?
we didn't say aye yet. Aye.
We didn't. Well, before we do that, how about a big hand for Dean for his service? And before we do that, we have, years-wise, I've been on since 2008 on Public Works. So from the beginning, how long for you?
2017.
17?
20.
Well, then you're not on anymore.
20? I think, well, I've always been on, right?
Yeah, you were on since the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan?
16.
16. All right. Excellent. This is great. You will be missed, by the way.
I appreciate
We mean that
that.
very seriously. And the discussion tonight, wow, good finish. You had people here as well, too, in your last meeting.
That's not normal for a Board of Public Works.
No, they're downstairs in the parking lot. Be careful.
Oh, wow. That's why I go that way. Have fun out there. All right, we have the motion a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Gavel goes down.